The year is 1489. A young boy, barely old enough to choose his own clothes, is given the most powerful red hat in the Catholic Church. He is a Medici, which means he is born into a family that breathes power, money, and ambition like most people breathe air. This wasn't just a fancy title, it was a ticket to the absolute top of the Renaissance world, a world where popes commanded armies, cardinals ruled cities, and the destiny of nations hung on whispers in gilded Vatican halls. The Medici family produced an astonishing string of cardinals, each one a master player in a game of empires and souls. They bought elections, brokered peace deals, ignited wars, and redefined what it meant to be a prince of the church. Their influence wasn't just immense, it was terrifying in its scope. Get ready to dive deep into the lives of 6 Medici cardinals who weren't just religious figures, they were the ultimate power brokers of their time. Number 6. Francesco Maria de' Medici, the last great cardinal prince. Francesco Maria de' Medici burst onto the scene of Roman aristocracy with the kind of flash and inherited grandeur that only a Medici could manage. Born in 1660, he was the son of Ferdinando II de' Medici, the Grand Duke of Tuscany, and Vittoria della Rovere. This meant he was double royalty, a grandson of a Holy Roman Empress and a descendant of a pope. His path was set early, as it often was for younger sons of ruling families who couldn't inherit the main title. The church was a perfect place for him to carve out his own domain of power and influence, even if it wasn't the ducal throne. He was elevated to the cardinalate by Pope Innocent XI in 1686, at the relatively young age of 26. This appointment wasn't just a personal honor, it was a strategic move by the Medici family to maintain their foothold in the highest echelons of the Roman Curia. The Grand Duchy of Tuscany, while powerful, relied on strong connections in Rome to protect its interests and influence European politics. Francesco Maria was to be their man in the Eternal City, a direct line to the papacy and its vast network. From the moment he received the cardinal's red biretta, Francesco Maria embraced his role with an enthusiasm for its privileges and a deep understanding of its political weight. He was quickly given the title of Cardinal Deacon of Santa Maria in Cosmedine, a prestigious church in Rome, and later moved to Santa Maria in Via Lata. These titles came with responsibilities, but more importantly, they granted him a place at the very heart of papal governance. He participated in papal consistories, advising the Pope on matters of church doctrine, diplomacy, and finance. His voice carried significant weight, not just because of his intellect, but because he represented the enormous wealth and political might of the Medici Grand Duchy. Francesco Maria became known for his extravagant lifestyle, even by the lavish standards of the Roman aristocracy. His palaces were renowned for their opulence, filled with priceless art, ancient sculptures, and luxurious furnishings. He was a passionate collector, acquiring works by the greatest artists of his time and from previous centuries. This patronage wasn't just a hobby, it was a calculated display of power and prestige. By commissioning and collecting art, he cemented his status as a cultural arbiter and demonstrated the boundless resources at his disposal. Artists, musicians, and scholars flocked to his court, seeking his patronage and hoping to gain his favor. This created a network of grateful and influential individuals who could be called upon to support his political aims or spread his influence. He owned magnificent villas outside Rome, like the Villa La Petraia, which he transformed into a true pleasure palace. These estates hosted grand banquets, theatrical performances, and musical concerts, attracting the most important figures from across Europe. These social gatherings were not just about entertainment, they were vital venues for political networking, where deals were struck and alliances forged over exquisite food and fine wine. Diplomats, princes, and even other cardinals sought invitations to his events, knowing that an audience with Francesco Maria could open doors and shift political tides. His influence extended far beyond cultural patronage. He was a shrewd political operator, deeply involved in the complex dance of European diplomacy. The late 17th and early 18th centuries were a time of shifting alliances and major conflicts, such as the War of the Spanish Succession. The Medici Granduchy, though officially neutral, had significant interests at stake, particularly regarding its borders and trade routes. Francesco Maria acted as Tuscany's chief diplomat in Rome, tirelessly working to protect his family's position. He communicated constantly with his brother Cosimo III, the Grand Duke, sending detailed reports on Roman gossip, papal machinations, and the movements of foreign powers. His letters contained invaluable intelligence, allowing the Grand Duchy to react quickly to changing circumstances and anticipate political maneuvers. One of his most significant, albeit controversial, political roles came with the question of the Tuscan succession. His brother, Cosimo III, was desperate to ensure the continuation of the Medici line, but his son and heir, Ferdinando, was childless. As the only other legitimate male Medici, Francesco Maria was pressured to leave the church and marry to produce an heir. This was an unprecedented and highly unusual move for a cardinal. For years, he resisted, seemingly content with his life as a prince of the church. However, facing immense family and political pressure, and to avoid the Grand Duchy falling into foreign hands, he eventually relented. In 1697, at the age of 37, Cardinal Francesco Maria de' Medici received a papal dispensation to renounce his cardinalate and marry Eleonora Gonzaga. This was a testament to his family's power and influence with the papacy, as such dispensations were rare. The marriage was a spectacular event, but it was also a tragic one. Eleonora was young, and Francesco Maria was significantly older and had long been accustomed to a bachelor's life of freedom and luxury. The marriage ultimately failed to produce an heir, a devastating blow to the Medici dynasty. This personal sacrifice, however, underscored the immense pressure and political obligations that even a powerful cardinal like Francesco Maria faced as a member of a ruling family. It showcased how deeply intertwined his personal life was with the fate of the Grand Duchy. Even after his marriage, Francesco Maria maintained his influence. He continued to participate in Roman society, albeit in a different capacity. His wealth remained vast and his connections deep. He used his continued leverage to support his family's policies and to protect their declining fortunes in the face of larger European powers. His Roman palace remained a hub of political and cultural activity, a clear signal that even without the cardinal's red hat, he was still a force to be reckoned with. His career as a cardinal exemplifies the later phase of Medici influence in the church. While earlier Medici cardinals ascended to the papacy and directly shaped Europe, Francesco Maria operated in an era where the Medici's political power in Tuscany was waning. Yet, through his strategic use of wealth, his extensive networks, and his dedicated diplomatic efforts, he ensured that the Medici voice was still heard in the Vatican and across the courts of Europe. He was a cardinal prince in the truest sense, navigating the intersection of religious authority, princely power, and aristocratic privilege with immense skill. His life, marked by both personal luxury and political sacrifice, perfectly illustrates the complex and often contradictory demands placed upon a Medici cardinal. He died in 1711, leaving behind a legacy of opulence, political astuteness, and an enduring testament to the Medici family's ability to wield influence even as their direct political grip on Florence began to loosen. Number 5. Alessandro Ottaviano de' Medici, the diplomat cardinal. Alessandro Ottaviano de' Medici was born in 1535, a time when the Medici family had solidified its rule in Florence, transforming the Republic into a powerful Grand Duchy. He was a great-grandson of Lorenzo the Magnificent, connecting him directly to the family's golden age. Unlike many of his predecessors who were thrust into the church at a very young age, Alessandro's early career was more traditional, starting with studies in Rome and then serving the church in various capacities. His path to the cardinalate was through merit and dedicated service rather than purely through family power, though his Medici name certainly smoothed the way. He began his church career in Florence, serving as an administrator under his distant cousin, Cosimo I de' Medici, who would become the first Grand Duke of Tuscany. Cosimo recognized Alessandro's intelligence and diplomatic skills, sending him on important missions. In 1569, Alessandro was made Archbishop of Florence, a significant position that further elevated his standing. He served in this role for 20 years, gaining deep experience in church administration and local governance. His hands-on experience set him apart from some of his Medici cardinal relatives who were primarily focused on Roman politics from a young age. Pope Sixtus V finally elevated Alessandro to the cardinalate in 1583. By this point, he was a seasoned church leader known for his piety, diplomatic acumen, and his ability to navigate complex political landscapes. His red hat was a reward for his long service and a strategic move by the Pope to bring a respected, well-connected Medici into the College of Cardinals. As Cardinal Priest of Santi Chirico e Giulietta and later Santa Prassede, he immediately became an influential figure in the Roman Curia. Alessandro's true impact as a cardinal and the source of his immense influence lay in his exceptional diplomatic career. He became the Vatican's troubleshooter, sent on crucial missions to the most important courts of Europe. His ability to charm, negotiate, and persuade made him invaluable. He understood the nuances of power, the importance of appearance, and the art of subtle persuasion. One of his most significant missions was as papal legate to France in 1596. France was reeling from decades of religious wars, and the newly converted King Henry IV was attempting to stabilize the country. The papacy desperately needed to reconcile with the French crown and bring France back into the Catholic fold after a period of intense Protestant influence. Alessandro was tasked with the delicate mission of securing Henry IV's full submission to the Holy See and establishing a lasting peace between the papacy and France. This was no easy feat. Henry IV was a pragmatic king, and many in Rome distrusted his sincerity. Cardinal Alessandro spent years in France, tirelessly working to bridge the divide. He navigated the treacherous currents of French court politics, dealing with powerful nobles, suspicious Catholic factions, and a king who was both charming and unpredictable. He successfully negotiated the lifting of Henry IV's excommunication and helped to solidify the peace, contributing significantly to the stability of France and the reassertion of Catholic authority. His dispatches back to Rome were detailed and insightful, providing the Pope with a clear picture of the situation in France and advising on the best course of action. Historians note that his diplomatic skill was critical in preventing France from falling further into Protestantism and ensuring its continued adherence to the Catholic Church. His success in France earned him immense respect and demonstrated his capabilities on the grandest stage of European politics. He returned to Rome with an enhanced reputation, becoming one of the most respected and senior cardinals. He participated in numerous papal conclaves, playing a key role in the election of several popes. His experience, his connections, and his reputation for integrity made him a powerful voice in these often contentious elections. The cardinals sought his advice and listened to his opinions, knowing that he possessed a deep understanding of European politics and the needs of the Church. Even as he aged, Alessandro remained active and influential. He was known for his piety and his commitment to the reforms of the Council of Trent, advocating for a more disciplined and virtuous church. He balanced his diplomatic pursuits with his pastoral duties as Archbishop of Florence, even though he often resided in Rome. He ensured that his archdiocese was well managed and its clergy properly trained. This commitment to both the spiritual and temporal aspects of the Church further enhanced his standing among his peers. In March 1605, after the very short pontificate of Pope Leo XI, Alessandro's distant cousin, also a Medici, a conclave was called. Alessandro, now a venerable 70 years old and a seasoned veteran of papal elections, entered the conclave as one of the leading candidates. His long and distinguished career, his diplomatic successes, and his reputation for piety made him a widely acceptable choice to the various factions within the College of Cardinals. On April 1st, 1605, Alessandro Ottaviano de' Medici was elected pope, taking the name Leo XI. His pontificate, however, was tragically short. He fell ill shortly after his election and died less than a month later on April 27, 1605. Despite the brevity of his papacy, his cardinalate spanned over 2 decades of incredibly active and influential service. He shaped European diplomacy, reconciled a major European power with the Holy See, and consistently advised the papacy on critical matters. His story shows that immense influence for a Medici cardinal wasn't always about lavish parties or military conquests. Sometimes it was about quiet diplomacy, strategic negotiation, and unwavering dedication to the complex machinery of the Church. His life as a cardinal was a masterclass in patient, effective statesmanship within the powerful hierarchy of the Catholic Church. He used his position to steer the Church through turbulent times, ensuring its continued relevance and authority in a rapidly changing world. Number 4, Ferdinando de' Medici, the Kingmaker, who became a duke. Ferdinando de' Medici was born in Florence in 1549, the 5th son of Cosimo, the first de' Medici, the first Grand Duke of Tuscany, and Eleonora di Toledo. As a younger son, he was destined for a career in the church, a common path for princely families to secure influence and wealth without dividing the main inheritance. His father Cosimo was a shrewd ruler who understood the importance of having a Medici cardinal in Rome to protect the family's interests and advance their political standing. Ferdinando was made a cardinal in 1563 at the incredibly young age of 14 by Pope Pius IV. This early appointment was a clear demonstration of Cosimo I's power and his successful lobbying within the Vatican. It immediately placed Ferdinando in a position of immense potential influence, even though he was too young to fully exercise it at first. He was given the title of Cardinal Deacon of Santa Maria in Dominica and later moved to Santa Maria in Via Lata, prestigious titles that came with an income and a place in the Roman hierarchy. Despite his youth, Ferdinando quickly matured into a sophisticated and astute politician. He established a magnificent court in Rome, residing at the Villa Medici on the Pincian Hill, which he famously adorned with an extraordinary collection of classical sculptures and Renaissance art. He transformed the villa into one of the most beautiful and influential artistic centers in Rome. His patronage of the arts was not merely for personal enjoyment. It was a deliberate strategy to project Medici power and culture, attracting leading artists, scholars, and architects to his circle. He invested heavily in cultural projects, including restoring ancient Roman monuments, which endeared him to Roman society and cemented his reputation as a cultured and benevolent prince. As a cardinal, Ferdinando became a central figure in Roman politics. He was known for his diplomatic skills and his deep understanding of European affairs. He served as the unofficial ambassador of the Grand Duchy of Tuscany to the Holy See, ensuring that Medici interests were represented and protected. He corresponded extensively with his family in Florence, providing crucial intelligence on papal policies, conclave politics, and the movements of other European powers. His network of spies and informants was vast, giving him an unparalleled understanding of the hidden currents of Roman power. Ferdinando's immense influence was particularly evident in papal conclaves. He participated in several, often acting as a kingmaker, expertly maneuvering behind the scenes to secure the election of popes favorable to Medici interests. He was a master of forming alliances, promising favors, and leveraging the immense wealth of the Medici family to sway votes. For example, he played a significant role in the election of Pope Gregory XIII and later Pope Sixtus V, carefully calculating which candidates would best serve the long-term goals of Tuscany and the wider Catholic world. His ability to unite factions and guide discussions made him one of the most powerful voices in the College of Cardinals during his long tenure. His financial power was also a cornerstone of his influence. As a cardinal, he commanded vast revenues from his church benefices and from his family's wealth. He used this money not just for personal luxury or art patronage, but also to fund political initiatives, to support loyal clients, and to offer loans and financial incentives to those whose support he needed. This financial leverage allowed him to exert control and build a formidable network of dependents and allies throughout Italy and beyond. A major turning point in Ferdinando's life, and a dramatic testament to his influence, came in 1587. His older brother Francesco I de' Medici, the Grand Duke of Tuscany, died without a legitimate male heir. This meant that the line of succession was in jeopardy. Despite having been a cardinal for 24 years, Ferdinando made the extraordinary decision to renounce his cardinalate and become the Grand Duke of Tuscany. This was a monumental step, requiring a papal dispensation and a complete reorientation of his life. His decision was driven by a deep sense of duty to his family and the Grand Duchy, and it demonstrated how intertwined the personal ambitions of the Medici were with the fate of their state. His transition from Cardinal to Grand Duke Ferdinando I was remarkably smooth, largely due to the immense political capital and diplomatic experience he had accumulated during his decades in Rome. He brought with him a profound understanding of international relations, an extensive network of contacts in every major European court, and a sophisticated approach to governance. He had learned the art of power firsthand in the Vatican, applying those lessons to the ruling of Tuscany. As Grand Duke, Ferdinando continued to exert his influence, albeit from Florence. He used his deep knowledge of the Church to navigate relations with the papacy, ensuring Tuscany's spiritual and political independence. He reformed the Tuscan administration, promoted trade, and invested in infrastructure, making Tuscany one of the most prosperous states in Italy. And his foreign policy was marked by shrewd alliances, balancing between the great European powers of France and Spain, always prioritizing Tuscan interests. Ferdinando de' Medici's cardinalate was not merely a stepping stone. It was a powerful and formative period during which he honed the skills that would later make him a successful ruler. He was a cardinal who operated at the very highest levels of power, shaping papal policy, influencing elections, and building a vast empire of art and connections. His journey from a young cardinal prince to a reigning Grand Duke is a prime example of the multifaceted influence a Medici cardinal could wield, demonstrating that the red hat could be a powerful tool for both church and dynastic ambition. He died in 1609, leaving behind a Tuscany strengthened by his diplomatic prowess and a legacy forged in the gilded halls of Rome. Number 3. Ippolito de' Medici, the warrior cardinal. Ippolito de' Medici's life was a whirlwind of ambition, luxury, and political intrigue, even by Medici standards. Born in 1511, he was the illegitimate son of Giuliano de' Medici, Duke of Nemours, and a woman named Pacifica Brandano. His illegitimacy meant he couldn't inherit the direct family line, but his close connection to the powerful Medici family, especially his uncle, Pope Clement VII Giulio de' Medici, meant he was still destined for a life of privilege and influence. He was made a cardinal at a remarkably young age, just 18 years old, in 1529 by his uncle, Pope Clement VII. This appointment was part of Clement VII's strategy to consolidate Medici power in Florence and within the church. Ippolito was intended to be a strong and loyal representative of the family in Rome, a figurehead who could wield significant influence on their behalf. He received the title of Cardinal Deacon of Santa Prassede, and quickly established a magnificent court in Rome, known for its lavishness and its vibrant intellectual and artistic life. He was a patron of writers, artists, and musicians, and his palace became a hub of cultural activity, a clear sign of his wealth and his desire to project power. However, Ippolito was no typical cardinal. He was a man of action, restless and ambitious, with a strong military bent. He was often described as more of a warrior than a priest. He harbored a deep desire to rule Florence, a city that he believed was his by right. This ambition put him in direct conflict with his cousin Alessandro de' Medici, the Duke of Florence, who was also a ward of Pope Clement VII. The rivalry between Ippolito and Alessandro was legendary, a simmering feud that shaped much of Ippolito's cardinalate. His first major political role came before his cardinalate. When Florence briefly expelled the Medici in 1527 during the chaos following the sack of Rome, Ippolito was one of the key Medici figures exiled from the city. He returned with the papal forces that besieged Florence in 1530, culminating in the restoration of Medici rule. And his presence in the military campaign, even if primarily symbolic, highlighted his connection to military power and his family's reliance on force to maintain control. Once he became a cardinal, Ippolito was entrusted with important diplomatic missions by Pope Clement VII. In 1532, he was appointed papal legate to the Holy Roman Emperor Charles V, a crucial role given the complex political landscape of Europe and the ongoing tensions between the papacy and the empire. He traveled extensively, representing the Pope's interests at various European courts and attending significant imperial diets. His diplomatic reports reveal his intelligence and his grasp of international relations, even if his personal inclinations leaned more towards martial glory. His military ambition was undeniable. He raised and commanded his own troops, even as a cardinal, leading them in various campaigns. He dreamt of leading a crusade against the Ottoman Turks, a grand project that would have solidified his reputation as a defender of Christendom and given him a platform for military glory. This desire to lead armies was highly unusual for a cardinal, but it underscored Ippolito's unique character and his struggle to fit into the conventional mold of a church prince. He was known for his impressive physique and his skill in horseback riding and jousting, cultivating an image that was distinctly unclerical. The rivalry with Alessandro reached its peak after Clement VII's death in 1534, as Ippolito saw his chance to challenge Alessandro's rule in Florence. He became a rallying point for Florentine exiles and opponents of Alessandro, traveling to the imperial court of Charles V to formally accuse Alessandro of tyranny and misrule. He presented a compelling case, arguing that Alessandro's oppressive actions were damaging Florence and creating instability. He sought the emperor's intervention to remove Alessandro and install himself as the rightful ruler. This bold move was a high-stakes gamble. It put him in direct opposition to the powerful Holy Roman Emperor who largely supported Alessandro, and it also put him at odds with the new Pope, Paul III, who was trying to maintain stability in Italy. Ippolito's actions demonstrated his fearlessness and his relentless pursuit of power, even at great personal risk. He had supporters, particularly among the disaffected Florentines and those who believed in a more traditional Republican Florence, but his opposition to the established Medici rule, backed by the emperor, was a formidable challenge. However, Ippolito's ambitions were tragically cut short. In August 1535, while traveling to meet Charles V again to further press his case against Alessandro, he fell ill and died suddenly in Itri. His death, at just 24 years old, was highly suspicious, and many contemporaries believed he was poisoned, possibly by agents of Alessandro. His sudden demise removed a significant threat to Alessandro's rule and left a void in the anti-Medici faction. Ippolito de' Medici's cardinalate, though brief, was marked by his unique character and his extraordinary influence. He was a cardinal who embraced the secular aspects of his role, building a magnificent court, leading troops, and challenging established authority. He embodied the contradictory nature of the Renaissance cardinal, a prince of the church who was equally a prince of the sword and a master of political maneuvering. His life showcased the immense power that a Medici cardinal could wield, even an illegitimate one, and the lengths to which they would go to secure their family's dominance and their own personal ambitions. His dramatic story is a testament to the high stakes and ruthless competition that define the lives of the most powerful figures in Renaissance Italy. Number 2, Giulio di Giuliano de' Medici, the Pope's right hand. Giulio di Giuliano de' Medici was born in Florence in 1478, the illegitimate son of Giuliano de' Medici, who was murdered during the Pazzi conspiracy in 1478. Despite the cloud of his illegitimate birth, his uncle, Lorenzo the Magnificent, took him in and raised him alongside his legitimate sons, including the future Pope Leo X. This upbringing within the very heart of the Medici household, surrounded by power, culture, and political intrigue, profoundly shaped Giulio. He received an excellent education, studying law and gaining a deep understanding of governance and diplomacy. His path into the church was strategic, a common route for talented but illegitimate members of powerful families. He joined the Knights of St. John of Jerusalem, a prestigious military religious order, gaining valuable administrative experience. When his cousin, Giovanni di Lorenzo de' Medici, became Pope Leo X in 1513, Giulio's ascent was meteoric. Pope Leo X immediately elevated Giulio to the cardinalate, making him Cardinal Deacon of Santa Maria in Dominica, and later of San Clemente in San Lorenzo in Damaso. This move was not merely nepotism. Leo X saw in Giulio a brilliant administrator, a trusted confidant, and a highly capable political operative. As a cardinal, Giulio became Pope Leo X's closest advisor and his most trusted lieutenant. He was effectively the Pope's chief of staff, managing much of the day-to-day business of the Vatican and handling sensitive diplomatic missions. He was known for his calm demeanor, his sharp intellect, and his ability to analyze complex political situations. While Leo X was often seen as extravagant and focused on patronage, Giulio provided the administrative backbone and the shrewd political calculations that kept the papacy functioning and influential. Giulio's influence was immense, touching every aspect of papal policy. He oversaw the papal treasury, managed diplomatic relations with European powers, and played a crucial role in the ongoing struggle against the Protestant Reformation. He acted as the Pope's legate, traveling to various courts to represent papal interests and negotiate treaties. His diplomatic reports were meticulous, providing Leo X with invaluable intelligence on the intentions of rulers like Francis I of France and Emperor Charles V. He was a master of the subtle art of persuasion and manipulation, a skill honed in the ruthless political arena of Rome. One of his most significant responsibilities was governing Florence on behalf of the Medici. After the Medici were restored to power in Florence in 1512, Giulio was appointed Archbishop of Florence, a position he held while simultaneously serving as cardinal in Rome. He acted as the de facto ruler of the city, ensuring Medici control and managing its internal affairs. He implemented policies that solidified Medici power, often balancing popular demands with the family's autocratic tendencies. He appointed loyal officials, managed the city's finances, and suppressed dissent, all while maintaining a facade of legitimacy. His ability to rule Florence from Rome demonstrated his remarkable organizational skills and the reach of his authority. He understood that maintaining control over Florence was crucial for the Medici family's overall power base. Giulio also played a critical role in the art and architecture of the period. He continued the Medici tradition of patronage, commissioning works from masters like Raphael and Michelangelo. He oversaw construction projects in the Vatican, ensuring that the papal court reflected the grandeur and authority of the Holy See. His cultural influence was not just about aesthetics, it was about projecting the papacy's power and its leading role in the Renaissance. He understood that art could be a powerful tool for propaganda and for enhancing the prestige of the church and his family. When Leo X died in 1521, Giulio was a leading contender for the papacy. However, a conclave marked by intense factionalism eventually elected the obscure Dutch Cardinal Adrian VI. Giulio accepted this outcome, though he continued to wield significant influence during Adrian's short pontificate. He quietly built alliances and positioned himself for the next election. Upon Adrian VI's death in 1523, Giulio entered the conclave as the undisputed favorite. After a long and contentious election, lasting nearly 2 months, Giulio di Giuliano de' Medici was elected pope, taking the name Clement VII. His election was a culmination of years of dedicated service, shrewd political maneuvering, and the immense network of alliances he had built as a cardinal. He was widely seen as the most capable and experienced cardinal of his generation, perfectly suited to lead the church during a time of immense challenge. His cardinalate spanned over a decade, during which he was the essential partner to one of the most powerful popes in history. He navigated the complex geopolitical landscape of the early 16th century, dealing with the rise of Protestantism, the ambitions of France and the Holy Roman Empire, and the ever-present threat of the Ottoman Turks. He was a cardinal who shaped not only the internal workings of the church, but also its relationship with the secular powers of Europe. His rise from an illegitimate son to the most influential cardinal of his time, and ultimately to the papacy, is a testament to his sheer ability and the strategic power of the Medici family. His story is one of unwavering loyalty, unmatched administrative skill, and a deep understanding of how to wield power in the service of both family and church. Number 1. Giovanni di Lorenzo de' Medici, the Prince of the Church. Giovanni di Lorenzo de' Medici was born in 1475 in Florence, the second son of Lorenzo the Magnificent, the undisputed ruler of the Florentine Republic and one of the most influential patrons of the Renaissance. Giovanni was destined for the church from a very early age, a strategic move by his father to embed the Medici family deeply within the highest echelons of papal power. Lorenzo understood that controlling the papacy, or at least having a major influence over it, was key to maintaining and expanding Medici power in Italy and beyond. Giovanni received a privileged education, tutored by some of the greatest humanist scholars of his time, including Angelo Poliziano. He studied canon law and theology, but he was equally versed in classical literature, philosophy, and the arts. This comprehensive education prepared him not just for a spiritual role, but for the complex political and cultural world he was about to enter. His ascent within the church hierarchy was breathtakingly fast, a testament to his father's immense political leverage. In 1489, at the astonishingly young age of 13, Giovanni was made a cardinal by Pope Innocent VIII. This appointment was secured through intense negotiations and a significant financial contribution from Lorenzo the Magnificent to the Pope. It was a clear demonstration of the Medici family's ambition and their ability to bend the rules of the church to their will. For 2 years, his cardinalate was kept secret, a further sign of the unusual nature of the appointment. When it was finally announced in 1492, Giovanni became Cardinal Deacon of Santa Maria in Dominica and later of Santa Maria in Cosmedin. Even as a very young cardinal, Giovanni quickly established himself as a powerful figure in Rome. He maintained a splendid household reflecting the lavish tastes and boundless wealth of the Medici. His palace became a center for artists, scholars, and musicians, continuing the Medici tradition of patronage. He was known for his intellectual curiosity and his love of luxury, often hosting grand banquets and cultural events. These gatherings were not just social affairs, they were crucial venues for networking, building alliances, and gathering intelligence in the highly competitive world of the Roman Curia. His early cardinalate was not without challenges. When the Medici were expelled from Florence in 1494, following the invasion of King Charles VIII of France, Giovanni experienced firsthand the precariousness of power. He was forced into exile, a period that deeply influenced his political outlook. He traveled extensively throughout Europe, observing various courts and systems of governance, gaining valuable diplomatic experience, and broadening his perspective beyond Italy. This period of exile, though difficult, prepared him for the complex political maneuvering that would characterize his later career. Upon his return to Rome, Giovanni immersed himself in papal politics. He was a master strategist, forming alliances and skillfully navigating the factions within the College of Cardinals. He understood that personal relationships and behind-the-scenes negotiations were crucial to success. He participated in several papal conclaves, most notably the ones that elected Pope Julius II and later Pope Paul III. His voice carried significant weight, not just because of his family name, but because of his intelligence, his diplomatic skills, and his extensive network of contacts. He was often seen as a moderate voice capable of bridging divides between warring factions. His ultimate moment of influence came in 1513, following the death of Pope Julius II. Giovanni de' Medici entered the conclave as one of the leading candidates, having carefully built up his support over many years. He was known for his charm, his generosity, and his ability to appeal to different groups within the college. He promised reforms, peace, and continued patronage of the arts. After a contentious election that lasted 7 days, Giovanni di Lorenzo de' Medici was elected pope, taking the name Leo X. His election, at the age of 37, marked a triumphant return to power for the Medici family. It solidified their position at the pinnacle of European politics and religion. As cardinal, he had demonstrated immense influence through his diplomatic skill, his ability to build consensus, and his strategic use of his family's wealth and prestige. He was a cardinal who truly understood the mechanisms of power within the church and how to leverage them for both personal and dynastic gain. His rise to the papacy was not a sudden stroke of luck, but the culmination of a lifetime of calculated ambition and unparalleled influence as a prince of the church. His cardinalate laid the groundwork for a pontificate that would reshape the cultural and political landscape of Europe. He was the epitome of the Renaissance cardinal, blending religious authority with secular power in a way that left an indelible mark on history.